up, everybody? This is Corey from Slipknot. You are watching Slipknot The Beginning. That is a very interesting story in itself.
What about, was there a battle of the bands where they saw you playing, and was that where they asked you?
Well, we had known each other. I mean, the individual members of Slipknot had been in other bands before that, you know, that we had kind of gigged together, you know. Most notably, Joey's band, Modifidius. You know, we had done a few shows together, and you know, I knew Clown because he owned the bar, but he was also in a band called Heads on a Wall. Paul was in a band called Vex at the time, and so I knew everybody from the scene, you know, and apparently everybody knew me. And you know, we had done some gigs, and Slipknot beat us in a battle of the bands for a local radio station, and you know, and it was, you know, and deservedly so. I mean, they were a great band, but the thing that stood out to me was the fact that there was no solo presence, you know, there was no frontman presence, you know. And so when they asked me to join, I was like, well, here it is. This is my moment, you know, and that was it. Yeah, oh God, dude, I had two jobs at the time, you know. I was running the door at Clown's bar and working midnight to 8 at the porn shop. So, I mean, I was literally living on nothing, to be honest, because, I mean, it was incredible. Trying to get gigs on the weekends and whatnot, you know, and just plugging away, trying to get it done. But the thing that I understood was the same that the guys in the band understood, was that you've got to think outside of your town. You've got to think worldwide if you want to do anything, man, you know? And that's what it was all about, you know. We were kind of the guys in our bands who got it. We were the guys in our bands who understood what it took, not just to be a famous band in America, but just to be a worldwide band. And you know, when it came to the work ethic, that's where it came from, and I think that's why we all were attracted to each other.
And what about the early practices? What was it like? Did it click straight away?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I can remember doing some test demos in the studio because they gave me a tryout, which is very funny. And I know there's the very famous story that, you know, they threatened to kill me if I didn't join, which is complete farcity. They walked into my shop at 4 in the morning, and they didn't even come up and talk to me. They walked around the store. They were so nervous and so shy that I thought it was adorable. And then they kind of came up and they were like, "We really want you to join our band," and blah 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 blah. And I was immediately in. So we did some test demos to see if it would work, and the first song I did was Me Inside, actually, and it destroyed, and I was in from moment one, and they loved it. You know, our whole thing was, why can't you have substance and matter? You know, I mean, why can't you have style and substance? You know, we just refused to be limited. You know, and I think people were very limited in their vision of us, and that's really why it fueled us. You know, we never let that bother us. You know, people were always going to detract. People are always going to have an opinion, and for a band like us, that just drives us to go harder and do everything better. And, you know, we knew that when the time came, like, people would come around and it would be a wholly different story. And, you know, just in the last year and a half, 2 years, you know, we've really started to get the respect of not only fans, but of a lot of bands, you know, that may not even play in our genre, but they come, you know, a lot of newer bands are just coming up and going, you know, this is one of the bands that we grew up with, and they're fantastic. So it's really kind of coming around nicely. Oh, that album was actually recorded and released without me. They took some of those songs and re-recorded them and then I came in and rewrote like the lyrics and whatnot, and that was the unreleased Crows album, basically, or whatever they were calling it. But it was what it was. I was a fan of those songs, so rewriting the lyrics and whatnot, it wasn't a big deal, but it was it was a little nerve-wracking. I did 20 songs in 3 days. So by the time I was done, I was completely blown out vocally, and I was just like, but it was a great way to see how they work. It was a great way to see how they approached everything, and it was just all go, no quit. So I was all about that. The video for Spit It Out was actually kind of our concept. We had been talking about doing a Shining kind of tribute for a while, and luckily we were working with a guy named Thomas Mignoni, who had done a bunch of stuff with us, and he got it together really quickly, and every one of those shots is all done in the same hotel. It was all, and actually it's not even a hotel anymore, it's an apartment building in LA. And even the snow maze shot, where it's all white and I've got the axe, which is one of the coolest things ever, that was in a hallway up on the 3rd floor or whatever, and we did it all in one spot, so it was pretty sweet. And of course, Spit It Out, our very first video, and it's banned from MTV, so thank you, MTV. And that's how that's the legend of the Spit It Out video. That's more of a question for Clown. I can just remember showing up at practice, and there was a debate on whether or not to have a DJ join, because we already had Craig, who was handling the samples and all that stuff, and we wanted to be able to have another completely creative side to everything. And Sid kind of, honestly, it came out of nowhere. I'd never met him until he came to practice, and he convinced us all, man. He was in it to win it. And plus, he was just one of the goofiest dudes I'd ever met. He showed up, the first practice, he showed up in this amazing stone-washed jean jacket with a Harley Davidson thing on the back and a pink Michael Jackson Thriller visor. That's how the dude shows up, okay? And he's just like, this is how I am. And I was like, I love it, man. I love it. So you could just tell that he had that mindset. Ross was really the first piece of the puzzle. His manager was a friend with the woman who was managing us at the time, and they kind of made that happen. We sent him some songs. We'd been doing demos. We'd obviously demoed Spit It Out, and we had done some demos of Wait and Bleed, and stuff like that. And it was, it was just time. Something had to go to the next level. You know what I'm saying? And he came in and he took a listen to it and he was blown away. So, and Roadrunner had already passed on us once. And they said, you know what, get back to us in a year. And in that year, I was asked to join. All these different things kind of came to pass. And, we actually had a record deal ready for signing with a whole other record label. And at the last minute, they pulled it on us because of an A&R guy who came to see us at a show and was like, I don't want to be a part of any of this. In fact, the famous quote is, if this is the future of music, I don't want to be alive. So they yanked it. It was with a very, very major label. But that didn't deter Ross at all, man. He was all about it. He said, I'm producing you with or without a record label. He said, I'll put it out on my own if I have to. And luckily we did another showcase for Roadrunner, and that's when Monty was like, it's there. All right, let's do this. And that was it. So when the album went platinum, we sent a little bouquet of dead flowers to that anonymous A&R guy that said, we're the future of music and we want you dead. Yeah, he dropped it. Counted. He was counting the song off. He got to 5 and he dropped a drumstick. First time Ross is like, first of all, we were all little kids out on the porch watching him pull up, man. Like, it was ridiculous how geeky we were. He comes pulling up and we just went, Ross Robinson's at our house, oh my God, you know. So he comes downstairs and we're so nervous and Joey's losing his mind. He goes, you know, the big 8 count getting into to Sick, you know, at the beginning of Sick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now I'm like, I was ready. I was just like, oh man, this isn't starting well. And it was pretty gorgeous, to be honest, man. And then, but we got through that. He loved the music, but it was really after he saw our first show, when we played a show at Safari, where he saw us play, and he was just like, now I know what it is. And, you know, give him credit. He was the first to really kind of get it like we did.
And what a person.
From soup to nuts, man, like it was, you know, making the album was fantastic. You know, I mean, we all had a blast making that album. And it was really, I mean, it was 3 months, but it seemed to go by like that, you know. But then we made the album, and I went back to work, you know. I ended up, you know, back at the porn shop going, did that just happen? Did I just make my first major label album, you know? People that I worked with were like, whatever, yeah, you got signed. And I was like, I swear to God, you know. And it wasn't until we got locked for Ozfest 99 that it felt real. You know, all the way until like 3 days before we left, it didn't feel real, you know. And this was after flying to LA to film the video for Spit It Out. This was after meeting Ice-T at the Sony offices and whatnot. None of it felt real. And once we hit the stage at Ozfest, though, it was like, okay, now we begin. This is what it's all about right here.
When you go back home, do you ever go back to this pawn shop?
I used to, but to be honest, and this is a true story, I tried to get my job back right before the Iowa album, because I wanted to, because all the lyrics that I wrote for that first album I wrote at the porn shop, you know, between 2 and 6 in the morning when nobody was there. So I tried to get my job back so I could write the lyrics for Iowa there as well, and they weren't having it. They were like, no. And I'm like, why? And it's like, because you'll have like 15 or 16-year-old kids trying to get in here. It's like, I'll do whatever I'll shave my head, I'll grow a beard so you can't see my tattoos. Like, I don't care, I just want that. And they're like, nope. So I was like, all right. But they do have my old coffee cup is still there, and they've got it on a little windowsill thing, you know, with a light on it. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So I don't go there anymore.
And what about the live shows? I mean,
the video for Wait and Bleed, the live version, actually, is that was kind of our homecoming show. We just finished up Ozfest 99, you know. We had just kind of laid waste to all of America, and we were coming off this high, and we got booked for our hometown show. We're like, woo-hoo, like thousands of kids. And luckily, we'd set it up so we could film the video for Wait and Bleed, and luckily there were people. Like, it was crazy at that show, you know. So, but it's always funny to watch that video and just watch Clown down on all fours at the end of that video. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. He's just spinning, and you can see his orange frilly is kind of spinning and freaking out. And that's my memory of the Wait and Bleed video.
Cool. Thanks. We've just got a couple more things to do.
Cool. I just remember a lot of pain, you know. I mean, we were just giving it everything we had, you know. I can remember promoters coming to us and going, just like, you're not going to set anyone in the audience on fire, are you? And we were like, no, just each other. And they're like, they're waiting for the punchline, and we're like, no, that's yeah, the audience is fine. we'll do this to ourselves, you know? It was just madness, man. Like, I mean, there wasn't a chance to catch your breath. But because we wanted it so much, we didn't want to catch our breath. We wanted to plow through it, you know? We wanted to break everything that was in our path. It meant so much to us that we finally had the chance to realize this, that you know, it's like we'll feel the pain later, we'll sleep later, we'll cry later, you know, I mean, we'll heal later. Just keep going. You know, I almost detached my retina in my eye. You know, I had scratches on my cornea from just all this insanity going on around me. And that was like the next day I'd put an eye patch, seriously, I'd put an eye patch over my eye, put my mask on, and be like, if I hit you in the face with the mic, it's because I didn't know you were there, you know? I mean, it was that serious, man. And none of us walked away untouched. We all had that disease in us, and you know, and now I have very little memory of those years. Seriously, I barely remember TFI Friday, you know, and that was a major night. I remember getting on the stage. I remember the audience. I don't remember performing. I couldn't believe that we actually got that gig. You know, everybody was telling me, it's just like, no metal band gets this. Nobody gets this. And I was like, okay, I don't know who that guy is. He looks like Opie Taylor. You know, he literally looks like somebody put glasses on a very tall Opie Cunningham. You know, I mean, there you go.
So we don't really get that over here. Like, you guys have like Cohen.
Yeah, here and there. I mean, you got to realize. I mean, except for like a handful of examples. I mean, it was not. It was not a sure thing that we would get to play those shows. You know, I mean, we fought and fought and fought and fought and fought, and Letterman's turned us down every time. He's just like, I don't get it. I don't want him there. Conan was the first show that really got it, you know. I mean, he had us on for Wait and Bleed. He brought us back for the Heretic Anthem, encouraged us to play the Heretic Anthem, you know. It was fantastic. You know, to be able to have that just shows you not only how talented we were, but how lucky we were at the same time. That we had so many people that were helping us get these fantastic opportunities, you know. Obviously the Astoria show comes to mind. That was just out and out chaos, man. Like here's a funny story. We get done playing this show. Now, you got to realize we missed a lot of the hype. You know, we were just like, oh, we're playing London. You know, we're stoked to play London. We missed all the hype that was going on with us. When we showed up and everyone was like, you know, or, ah! We were like, where is this coming from, man? You know? We get on stage, and it's literally the craziest thing I'd ever seen in my life. You know, not just us, but the audience itself was out of their minds. And we get off stage, and we're upstairs in that dressing room on the couch. Anybody who's been backstage at the Astoria knows which couch I'm talking about. And Bjork walks in, like proper Bjork. Like, I'm like. And she's out of her mind, right? She's got these crazy pigtails in that are obviously out of whack. And she's like, I love your band. And I'm just sitting there. I mean, like, it was too much for me, man. Like, I was like, you know, an alien could have walked in, and it would not have surprised me as much as just Bjork fanning out on me. It was insane, man.